Okay, so this episode of Tiger and Bunny season 2 episode 11. So we got two more episodes before the first half of this season of this core is completed before I can complete that. I didn't know at the time it was 13. I straight up thought it was 12. But at first I thought let me do a live reaction, but then I'm like I'm kind of busy and a live reaction may end up taking time. So let me do a review. And I'm not going to hold you guys. I'm glad I did a review because, again, sometimes a live reaction can only do so much because there's a lot to unpack. And only giving myself like 4 or 5 minutes to really talk and really dive in to what the episode was all about, because this episode they're basically hunting the heroes at this point. If you thought episode 10 or episode 9 was bad, no, it got way worse. And my hypothesis, my guess is I don't know if Fugan and Mugan will be the villains for the entirety of the season, because if I remember correctly, and I was speaking to myself earlier about it, and it's been a minute since season 1, 11 years or so, even though I watched the series at 20 during 2015, it has been some time. I know like the big villain in season 1 was Yuri, aka Lunatic, but of course there was Ouroboros or people that work in there, and it made me question, like, despite us knowing that Ouroboros is an organization, that it's basically they want more next people, but they don't want superheroes. They don't want heroes to stop them and everything. They're for next people, right? The way they're moving, and I forgot his name, but he's in charge. Basically, he looks after the twins, and this episode kind of shows that like he does not view the twins as pawns or people to use, just objects. He actually views them as people, you know. I'm wondering, and hopefully they can kind of explain that in the second half of the season, if Ouroboros, despite being an organization, despite having probably how much people in there, a big group, each individual moves on their own. And eventually over time, during certain times, they do answer to someone of higher status, basically the CEO, the big boss. But the way I've seen from season 1, from what I can recollect from season 1, and what we're seeing in season 2, it looks like individuals of that organization does move on their own, does their own task, and eventually they probably do report to the big boss. But besides that, starting off with episode 11, we had a little mini flashback in the beginning. You have to remember at the end of the day, and they're actually doubling down. If you really sit down and realize, versus season 1, they're really doubling down on the discrimination of Next users. Like that line where non-Next people clearly do not like Next people. Okay, they're really if you really sit down and watch it, they're really doubling down on that in this season, because it was mentioned probably once or twice in season 1, but they never really put great emphasis. But in this season, it happened more than once. And in this episode with Fugan and Mugan, starting off with them being, come to find out they were orphans. They basically, living on the streets. They don't know where their real parents are. And of course, they had to steal to survive. So they went into, I'm guessing, this like cafe, some type of food joint. They're looking for food, and yes, of course, they did steal people's money and all that, because again, they're kids, they're orphans, they have nowhere to go. And the owner obviously is being really disgusting towards little kids. And then the minute he sees, he gets real disrespectful and physical, pushing one of them, right? Because he won't give them something to eat. And the minute, was it Fugan or Mugan sees his brother get pushed, he's starting to activate his powers, and the man went to go get his gun, like a rifle, to go shoot them. Okay, and that's where the person who's taking care of them, basically a parental figure, I forgot his name because his name was only probably mentioned once in this season, so I will have to go back and find out what his name is. But the one who's taking care of both Fugan and Mugan, he was there in that same restaurant and he beat up the dude and took them in. Okay. And I mean, I guess like, yes, he cared for them. Yes, he doesn't see them as pawns, but in the same way, he kind of kept them childish. Because they did mention that, like, once the flashback ended, they want to destroy this world where adults did not give them a chance. Okay, so he most likely, while he cared for them, he kept them mentally at the same age they were when they first met him. You know, like, they know what they're doing, they're conscious of what they're doing, but everything seems like a game, like a very childish, malevolent game for kids. Them going around beating up or possibly killing superheroes. Okay? And then remember with Mattia and then his partner that was part of the program to build this type of project to give non-next people a chance to know what it's like to be a next person. Come to find out, there is this person by the name of Gregory Sunshine. Mind you, his last name does not fit how he looks like, okay? He's in prison and he's being used in part of this program. Mattia is in the hospital, remember, because after him experimenting on himself for over 500 times and then eventually he had to end up in the hospital, his partner is not telling him anything. He's keeping his mouth shut because Mattia asks him, who's our sponsor that we're working for to build this project? And he's not saying nothing. So going back to, you know, they were observing with the subject Sunshine, Mr. Sunshine, his next powers is actually pretty cool, but that requires for him to actually touch you. So once he activates, and if you're a next user and he touches you, he can cause your powers to basically get stronger, to go haywire, okay? And they're going to be using him. I'm guessing they're going to be using some form of his DNA, aka blood, and mixing whatever research that Mati and his partner has been doing to make stronger next users. Remember, at the end of the day, Ouroboros and the sponsor that they were working for are knit and glove. They're like this, okay? And they're only doing this for mainly Ouroboros. Take out the heroes, and only people that are next people can get this type of treatment, okay? And then what we had with the twins, and even though it was obvious, I knew it was going to happen, the twins infiltrated the hero agency. And you know, they're all on high alert because now they took out Flames, they took out Sky High, they took out KL, they took out Origami, okay? And everybody's worried. And then Barnaby, even though he wasn't taken out by the twins, he is still in the hospital in this coma, okay? So, you know, already almost half of the team, nearly half of the team is taken out. They're out of commission. So everyone is on high alert. And then the twins infiltrate. Mind you, they found all their information, how they look like, possibly where they live, and all of their movements. So it's just like, it's just only a matter of time till they come to where they're at, and they did. And I mean, it was obvious, but it was still so shocking because it's just like, which villain you know just be popping up in the hero agency? You really don't see that, okay? And now they also made it clarify what the twins' powers are. So we obviously know Mugan, yes, his power is warping. Pretty damn, kind of like, yeah, kind of something like that. And then with Fugan now, his power at first was to basically, how they said, nullify another person's power, and then he hits you back with it just as hard, okay? So he takes the power because what happened was when they were in the hero agency, they started fighting Lara, aka Magical Kitty, I Am Thomas, Mr. Black, and Bison. They started to already destroy the place, right? So by the time Blue Rose, also known as Karina, and Ryan came there, they started to see where their training room was destroyed, and the younger heroes were hurt. Okay, the one who had the most damage was Thomas, because it looked like something was broken inside his arm, because his arm looked completely red. He got the worst injury out of all of them, okay? And Bison is like not really hurt because of course his next power is hardened skin, Kirishima. But one person I did not particularly like in this episode was Lara's mom. And I think she is the true villain of this series, of this season, because once she heard what happened to LK, aka Lightning Kid, she's like, that's good for her. The way she was acting, it was only a matter of time till karma came back. And I'm like, if this woman is not projecting what happened to her 20 plus years ago and then putting on to her 14-year-old daughter who is scared out of her mind because she has a target on her back, everybody's is worried about them potentially being the next target, the next victim, due to these two lunatic villains going around taking them out. Okay, mind you, Stern Bild only has 12 heroes. Like, what the hell? But besides the point, it really did tick me off to see that, like, you see another child get hurt. She's petrified. Literally, she's stuck as stone. They don't know how to, like, undo what Fugan did. And you're saying that's good for her because of what something happened to you how much years ago? And now you're projecting it onto your daughter and putting her mind, negativity, okay, into her mind, in her young mind, as if she's not scared right now for her life and possibly yours. You know, to me, Fugan and Mugan, they're okay, they're good. The real villain is Lara's mother. She should be taken out. I'm sorry, Lara, you might be motherless by the end of this season, but your mom needs to be taken out, okay? I don't like this lady. So while the heroes are fighting them, and we're seeing really the skills of Fugan and Mugan, especially Fugan, his power was like, I did not expect that. Because last episode we saw really what Mugan's power is, of course, warping, him coming from one spot to the next at very quick speeds and everything. And then now we see with Fugan, his powers are able to take someone else's powers and then throw it right back at you just twice as hard. It does come to a point where Bison is like telling the younger heroes, there's nothing wrong with running away. It's what you do after you run away. And you don't really hear that in a lot of series, because they always tell, especially when it's a younger character who wants to stay and fight alongside with the older character, and they just tell them, go run away, there's no shame in running away. But you never really hear that quote, it's what you do once you run away, what you do after. And that should stick in their heads, because I have a feeling it's going to be them. And with Kotetsu, mind you, Kotetsu this whole time is speaking to Yuri to say, hey, we need to do something about these two villains, because if we sit here and wait, damage is going to take place. And as he's saying, that damage is really happening at the hero agency. So we have where Blue Rose, Ryan, and Bison are all trying to stop the twins, and they did eventually. They got the kids out, they distracted them. Blue Rose and Ryan did a combination on them, and at first we thought, okay, the twins are taken out, but they went back to the I guess the observatory where the project is still ongoing with the next powers and everything. And Mugan is okay. Mugan or Fugan? One of the twins, he got injured, the long-haired one. He got injured, but he's okay. And while even though the serum that is going to be used on next people to amplify their powers, making them even stronger, is still in its testing periods, they take it. Because, again, they say they want to destroy the world where adults have hurt them. Okay? That's the whole point. Because if you go back to the beginning of the episode, as them as orphans, and how non-next people treats them, and possibly even next people have treated them, mainly adults, when they could have helped, instead they turned their back or physically abuse these poor kids, and they kept that in the back of their head. And then you have this twisted adult taking care of them. You're getting like what right now we have in My Hero Academia with Shigaraki. Okay, this is what you get. So they got the serum, the test serum, and the way they were glowing, because usually when next people activate their powers, they have an aura of blue and their eyes turn blue, right? This is going back to episode 1, if I remember correctly, where they had this purple aura. Okay, eyes turn purple. this serum has amplified their powers. By the time Kotetsu and Yuri reached the hero agency, because they got an emergency call from the younger heroes saying that they need help, the other heroes are back there, and the villains came, the twins came and everything. By the time they go there, they're missing, because the twins brought them back to the observatory. Now I'm actually scared for Bison, Blue Rose, Karina, and Ryan, because I don't know if they're going to be tested on, or are they going to end up in the same predicament as the other 4 heroes, because they brought them back to where they're doing the project. So I'm actually very scared for their lives in particular, because we already have 4 petrified heroes. Now we got the other 3, and we have one in a coma. Well, he's no longer in a coma. Barnaby did wake up by the end of the episode, thank God. But unfortunately, it's just going to be him, Kotetsu, and the kids. But if we remember back in episode 1, Barnaby got his ass whooped again. Okay, and I don't know how this is going to all wrap up, because the twins now are pumped up on this juice, basically, that amplify their powers. Mugen's powers allows him, if he wasn't already fast when he was warping, I don't even want to know what the speeds this kid is going at right now. And then with Fugan, I don't want to even know like how much stronger is his ability now that he's, if he was probably hitting you twice as hard. I don't even want to know what's going on, because they were already strong before. That our heroes, even the veterans, were having a hard time facing these two. And you mean to tell me now their powers are exponentially stronger? How are the heroes going to handle them? And it's not like we've seen other heroes from other cities or other countries or anything of that sort. So I'm actually fearing for the lives for the heroes at this point. I don't know how, by the time we reach episode 13, what's going to happen. Are the twins going to be the villains of the season? Or are we going to actually have Lunatic come and help the heroes? And then he reveals his idea. I'm thinking of all of these things, but this may not even happen until the second half that's coming out later this year during fall. You know, so like the spring season is practically done, call it next week and everything. I'll try to do live reactions between tomorrow going into next week for episodes 12 and 13, and then, you know, we wait for one season to pass and get into fall season so I can go back and start reviewing the last 12 episodes of season 2 of Tiger and Bunny. But I'm pretty scared for the heroes right now, because there's not enough backup for them. And I wonder if this is going to be the fall of Stern Bild, the beginning of the fall of Stern Bild, the beginning of the fall of the hero agency, all the heroes in Stern Bild. Or this may be a change around, you know. So guys, do tell me in the comment section below on how you felt about Tiger and Bunny season 2 episode 11. What were some of your guesses? What were some things that you noticed in this episode that I probably didn't mention in this video? What do you think is going to happen in the last 2 episodes of the first half of this season? And what can you expect from when the series does come back later this year, around probably fall, probably winter of this year? So the links are in the description box, so you guys can go check that out. And I'm Kimmy-chan of Anime Legends, and I will see you guys later. Bye! With